Joining us tonight, Congressman Jim Jordan, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, member of the Judiciary Committee, co-founder of the influential House Freedom Caucus. Congressman, great to have you with us. The Democratic Party looks like it is in total disarray.
Well,
it's stunning what they're doing.
Yeah, if you needed any more proof that they were more focused on stopping the president than they are on helping the country, this is it. I mean, the Speaker of the House doesn't invite or disinvites the Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States of America, not to come give the State of the Union address. I mean, this is unbelievable. And you couple that with what happened yesterday, when the President invited Democrats to the White House to talk about getting a solution, building a border security wall, figuring out how we can negotiate this to some kind of end, and they didn't even show up. So not showing up and now not inviting the President to give the annual State of the Union address. This is how much they are focused on stopping the president and how little they are focused on what we need to be doing, which is helping the country.
Well, it looks to me, Congressman, like this just blew up in Pelosi's face, this shallow, I mean, really contemptuous gambit on her part.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think where it's really going to matter are in these close districts where a Democrat barely beat a Republican. That seat like the Oklahoma City district, Kendra Horn, who won that seat, right. Joe Cunningham, who won Mark Sanford's seat in South Carolina. I think constituents in those districts are going to start telling their member, wait a minute, go talk to the president. Don't have the State of the Union like we always do in this country. Go tell your leadership to sit down with the president. Let's figure out how to build this border security wall and actually help the country.
Are you at least surprised, a little bit, that Nancy Pelosi did not at least feign interest in what the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security had to say about security, since she used that as her excuse to be as insulting as she knew how to be?
Not really. I mean, remember today's left. They applaud Kaepernick when he disrespects our flag. They embrace Governor Cuomo when he says America was never that great. They cheer on Maxine Waters when she says go out and harass anybody who supports our president. This is today's left. I mean, their very first big hearing they're doing, they're inviting a convicted felon, Michael Cohen, in to address Congress. And one of the things he's convicted of and going to go to prison for is he lied to Congress. So from this group, nothing should surprise us. But I guess deep down it does a little bit, because this is the State of the Union address.
You know, I almost feel like I should withdraw the question, Congressman, but I'm frankly, I cannot believe the maladroit politics of the left and their indifference to what was once their base. Working men and women, middle-class Americans, small business. They have sold out to, I guess, illegal immigrants, various special interests.
How about those union workers in Youngstown, Ohio? Those union workers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania? Those hardworking families? Yes.
Trump Democrats.
Exactly. I've been around. I gave a speech before the election in Youngstown, and there were 500 people who showed up at this Republican event in Youngstown, Ohio. How about those families? They want a wall built. They know it's good for this nation. They know they want this president to keep fighting hard to make sure that happens.
I want to take up, if we may, very quickly here, the letter that you and Congressman Mark Meadows have sent seeking more information about the criminal case against James Baker, the former general counsel of the FBI. Where are you headed here?
Well, the main thing is this is the top lawyer at the FBI. This is their chief counsel, their general counsel, Jim Baker, Comey and McCabe's right-hand man. He's under investigation. He is a subject of investigation by the U.S. Attorney in Connecticut. That is big news. We don't know exactly what all the details and the parameters of that investigation are, but his lawyer told us in the deposition that he's under investigation, and that's why they couldn't answer, Jim Baker couldn't answer certain questions Mark and I had for him in that deposition. We want to know more about that. But the key is this: Andy McCabe, Deputy Director of the FBI, Jim Baker, Chief Counsel of the FBI, two of the ringleaders in this whole effort to go after the president, both under investigation. Both were at the FBI. McCabe was fired, Baker was demoted and then left. And of course, we got Lisa Page and Peter Strzok, who were also demoted and fired at the FBI. Those were the four ringleaders in this whole sordid affair. We want to get the answers, and that's why we continue to push.
And we should point out that despite all, none of those people you just enumerated have been punished for what is obviously,
not yet,
as you say, we hope, but to this point, not punished in any way for their abuse of power, and just flaunting the law and regulations of the two most important federal agencies in law enforcement. Congressman Jim Jordan, as always, it's great to have you with us. Thanks so much.
Take care, buddy.
You too.
Fox's alert now. Another caravan heading north out of Honduras toward the U.S. border by way of Mexico. About 2,000 migrants entering Guatemala, saying they have dreams of a better life. Former acting ICE Director Thomas Homan telling us that more caravans can be expected.
Caravans are going to keep forming. They're going to keep coming as long as the Democratic leadership refuses to negotiate on the wall and refuses to close the loopholes that cause these people to come to the country in the first place.
Well, Griff Jenkins is moving alongside that caravan in Honduras. Let's go to him now. Griff, what's happening today?
Bill, we're in the northwest corner of Honduras at the border crossing with Guatemala in the town of Agua Caliente. And officials here tell us since early this morning there have been about 350 or more of this caravan that have successfully crossed peacefully, showing their identification. Guatemala and Honduras have an agreement allowing citizens to pass back and forth with identification. But we were also able to speak, and by the way, that's 350 of what has now become roughly 2,000 members of a caravan that began as 1,000 yesterday, made incredible time coming all the way across the country. But while we're up here at the border, we met with the Vice Foreign Minister, Nelly Jerez. She handles issues like immigration. She says that she has discouraged this caravan from coming for the dangers and because of the way that the first caravan was handled and the difficulty with citizens getting in. And she had a message. She's upset with the organizers for what they may play a part in giving them some false hope. Here's what she had to say.
We think that they are giving them false hope, telling them that they can come with their kids. They tell them if you take your kids, it's easier to enter the USA and it's easier for you to get an asylum.
It hasn't been peaceful the entire time, though. Last night, late last night, there was a little bit of a clash with the police here in Honduras, tear gas being used in some cases because they were seeking to get the women and children priority. Some men became restless, but it's all worked out now, and they're headed north. Bill, they've got about 200 miles from the Honduran border to the Mexico border with Guatemala, and that's what they made yesterday. So we'll see if the next 24 to 48 hours they arrive at that same location on the Mexico-Guatemala border where they had clashes with the last caravan in October. That's yet to be seen as we continue to follow them. Bill?
Thank you, Griff. Griff Jenkins, Honduras. We'll watch it. Thank you, sir.
Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi refusing to negotiate with the president for a border wall.
We're not doing a wall. Does anybody have any doubt that we're not doing a wall? It is a diversionary tactic on the part of the president.
But on day 26 of the government shutdown, the partial shutdown, some Democrats are showing signs of compromise. Freshman Congresswoman Katie Hill says she would be willing to discuss funding for a border barrier, and she joins us live now. Congresswoman, thank you for your time this morning. Go ahead and explain what you mean when you say that.
Yeah, I think the first thing is that many of us want to talk. We are ready to come to the table. We are united in the fact that Democrats want border security too. And part of a package involves having a robust discussion on what that looks like. But the bottom line is that we're also united in saying that you can't have this conversation on the backs of federal workers, including Border Patrol agents. So we got to start with reopening the government and then sit down and figure out what exactly that border security looks like. Everything from technology to, to increase Border Patrol, which is exactly what Border Patrol is asking for, and all the way to, in some cases, barriers where it makes sense.
All right. I mean, it doesn't just include a wall. As you mentioned, it's technology. Right. There's a lot that goes on to border security, obviously, but it was just a short time ago that the president says he asked Nancy Pelosi, if I open the government within 30 days, are we going to talk about this? And she says no. I mean, you've heard her say over and over again, we're not going to give $1 to a wall. So I guess what happens from here then? How does this move forward?
Well, I think there's this fixation on the word wall, and I just think that's the wrong conversation to be having, because there's so much that we really are as a country united on, and it's about border security. Bottom line is that if we can reframe the conversation, and I think that we're seeing a lot of that talk kind of around the edges, including from the president, to be about these barriers, about the fence, about what it looks like that's something different, knowing that it can't be a 2,000-mile long concrete wall, that it's simply a physically impossible solution that really is never going to happen, and it's not going to work on its own. We have to have that technology. We have to have increased manpower, and really, so I think there's this total trap where we're talking about this wall, and instead we need to be saying, all right, where do we agree? And this is part of what I campaigned on. I come from a law enforcement family. What do we agree on? By the way, my family is largely Republican, so they're watching Fox News, and it's about where do we agree? We agree that we need border security. We also agree that we have certain values on how we want to approach immigration, but we also know that when we're talking about border security, the first thing has to be getting Border Patrol agents paid, along with paying our air traffic controllers and making sure that we're safe and secure in every possible sense of the word.
So, I mean, I've seen you on Fox News a number of times over the last few days. I know that you're out here, that you are talking about this, and you say you're willing to have the conversation, but unfortunately it seems like a lot of Democrats aren't, though. I mean, you had a number who didn't show up to lunch yesterday.
I think the thing is that look, if we have an agreement that we'll reopen the government, then we're ready to talk. And I think that really the reason that there's such a strong feeling about this is that I think it sets a really critical precedent. We've had a shutdown 3 times in the last year, and this is an unacceptable way to govern. We have so many things that we agree on. We've also got differences, and if we shut down the government every single time we disagree on something, then we're never going to be able to accomplish the things that have to happen. So let's agree that we're not going to do this anymore. We're going to sit down and we're going to govern the way that the American people elected us.
Okay, but let me ask you this then. If it goes the way in which you're asking, in which a lot of Democrats are asking for the president to open the government, and then you'll have the conversation. If a compromise still can't be reached, then say in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks down the road, when these conversations are going on, and then the president wants to shut down the government again, I mean, that's no good for anybody. That's just kind of prolonging the inevitable then, isn't it?
I agree, and I think that's when it's on lawmakers, legislators, the Senate and the House to come up with a recognition that they are co-equal branches of government, and we're going to have to override this sense that you can shut down the government for any kind of negotiating tactic. And I think it's also on us to say the American people are done with this. We want to finish this conversation that's been going on for decades. We have to come to some kind of a solution. Neither side is going to get everything they want, but that means that we're going to have something. We're going to have a step in the right direction, and progress of some kind is better than a stalemate that we've been at forever. Some solutions towards border security, some solutions towards immigration reform are going to be better than where we've been for a very long time, which is just standing on either side and yelling at each other. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
We are running out of time. I just want to get your perspective on this, because you say you come from a law enforcement family, and so you do understand that border security is important. Is it frustrating for you seeing how this has been playing out and hearing Nancy Pelosi say we're not giving $1 to this, end of conversation?
I think, again, there's been this interpretation that she's saying that we won't give $1 to it, when that's just not the case. She's saying we won't give $1 to this wall because there's this definition of the wall that, Democrats are hearing. I mean, look what I'm looking at right there at the barrier. That's not a wall. That's a barrier that, along that geographic part of the border makes sense. We're going to repair those pieces. We're going to add, based on recommendations coming from, Border Patrol and from other experts who work along the border, to say, all right, here are places where some kind of barriers make sense. Last year, the USA Act was introduced, bipartisan, 25 Democrats, 25 Republicans, who, were in agreement that some barriers are going to be part of an overall package. So I don't think she's saying at all that there won't be any money. There is going to be money for border security. Some of it's going to include barriers. In my opinion, I think that's where we're ultimately going to land. So if we can just say, as a country, let's leave this word out of the conversation, because we just can't seem to move past it. But if we just put it away and
even
say
the president has said, we'll call it steel barrier or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, let's just say we're not going to call it a wall anymore. We're going to say, all right, we both need to claim victory in some way on this, and we both need to say that we're not going to get everything we want. Well, this is a symbolic thing at this point, and we just need to find a way to move forward.
We will certainly see what happens. Congresswoman Hill, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Jillian.